So I was thinking about like this random idea for like a series or something like that. Even though I wouldn't be able to have like the proper editing, stuff to edit with. Like I can't be like all professional and things like that. But I had like this idea for something, and it involved Dead by Daylight too, if you can believe that. Um, but there is this stream, but there's this person by the name of Kaiser the Gamer or Kaiser the Bar. I kind of refer to them as like Kaiser the Gamer. Um, but basically, they did a little bit of a thing. They basically did a thing one day where on their community post on YouTube, they they wanted that they asked people they asked like people in in the YouTube community and all that, like they wanted them to share, they wanted us to share our most like toxic experience and stuff that's that's ever happened in Dead by Daylight. Now I actually told mine before and everything, and I wanted to kind of and I kind of wanted to to like share something else for like a little story. So I guess you could say this is kind of like a little something I like to refer to as toxic tales in the fog, where I kind of share like my little experiences and things like that that have happened in DVD, like actual experience. And whether you guys think it's actually, you know, toxic or not, it's up to you. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little story, and this is probably this is probably gonna be like one of those stories that has little to no context, if in a way, because this is something because this is only something that happened that I don't even know, like why it happened, or I don't even know like who this person was or anything like that. So let me get a drink first. So for this little story, and I'm gonna kind of wait until it hits 7 minutes. So so yeah, for this little debut story, I'm gonna refer to this as the Toxic Killer Aftermath. So one random day, I was getting on Twitch. I can't remember if I was like getting on there to like find someone streaming, like one of my friends or someone I follow streaming, or if I was just doing something else on Twitch. Well, I got on Twitch one day, and I had gotten a whisper from someone, and getting whispers on Twitch is very rare because 9 times out of 10 I don't really because 9 times out of 10 I don't really get a whole lot of messages from on Twitch. The only time the only time I've ever really gotten whispers is from my friend Pay's mods or someone that that she really close to, someone who helps her out, and things like that. So, um, so yeah, basically, like I saw that I had a I had a whisper, and I'm going to I'm just going to say this, like I was completely baffled, but like overall just fucking confused as to what this whole thing was. But so I go to my whisper thing, right? And right away, I see a name that I don't even recognize. Like, I don't even know who this person was or anything like that. Like, I don't even remember her from, like, any games that I faced or anything like that. Like, I just don't know them flat out, period. So, I'm like, okay, this is someone I don't even really know. So I'm like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, what's the deal? What's going on? And I shit you not, I read the message, and it said basically this. It said, fucking Gen Rusher, save your teammates too, and then it followed, and like at the end of it, it basically had its little interpretation of of a dick, basically. Like it's basically how dick with the help of a lowercase I in between two periods. So I'm thinking to myself, like, who exactly is this person? Like, what, who are they? I never heard them. I don't even know them. Never even heard of them or anything like that. And so I pretty much asked, and so I'm pretty much like, I'm sorry, but who are you exactly? To which I never got a response, sadly. Like, I still to this day had never gotten a response. Um, and I even went to go back, just like be like, hey, like you never. I went to go back at one point in time and be like, hey, you never messaged me or anything like that. What's going on? Who are you? What's the deal? And then I was kind of thinking to myself, just by like the message alone, right? That I was looking at the message alone. And I'm thinking to myself, this must have been a killer that I went up against, and I guess I must have somehow like beat them or something. Because why else would they be like going so far as to messaging me on a different platform? Just try and chew me out, basically, and call me a fucking gen rusher. Because when you hear the word gen rusher, like the one type of players that you hear it from are mostly killer mains, people who play as killer. And it's always, the killer mains who be like saying, oh, this person is a fucking gen rusher, or, this whole entire team is, just gen rushing, this or that, or whatever. So, I had this thought in my head that, so I had this little thought in my head, this is me painting my own little picture of it. So, even though I don't know who this person was in DBD, I don't know exactly what killer they were or anything like that, but my little picture that I painted that, obviously, that I feel like obviously, tells the tale, is that I must have been playing Survivor one random day, and I was just, doing my thing, just doing gens and, all that stuff. And I think I must have, actually helped got the gens done, and then managing to escape to the point where this person, whoever they were, they were so pissy about it, that I had gotten, I had gotten the gens done that they went so far out of their way to go find me and basically, try and talk shit to me. And here's the thing too. If you notice, right here, right, I don't have the whole TTV in my name. Not that I don't want to or anything like that. I just go by Mr. Rumble Rose on PSN because it makes I feel like it suits it, cause especially like if I play like multiplayer games or something like that, and you see like the little you see like the little message, like up top, like on the top left of the screen where it's like Mr. Rumble Rose is like where it's like the extra little S, how that. So it's like I just did it like that. I just took out the S and at the ending S, of roses, and it's by Mr. Rumble Rose. But yeah, but again, I feel like this person was someone that I faced before, that I faced as a survivor as a survivor player, and they must have been killer, and then it's like, they were so butthurt about it that they actually went so far and beyond just to try and find me, message me and, pretty much try and talk shit to me. And I could not help, honestly, but fucking laugh. Like, I couldn't help but laugh at the whole situation, about that. So yeah, it's like it was just so funny to me because like that felt like the first time. I think that was like the first time ever that I had gotten killer salt in some sort of way, because like because mostly the kind of salt that I usually get, if any, would be from survivors. It's like, oh, like they're playing like I'm like about like me camping or tunneling, or me playing a certain killer like Skull Merchant, for example, because I have had my fair share of people who likes to bitch and moan about that. So yeah, but yeah, like I just could not help but laugh at the fact that it's like I somehow apparently got my first ever killer assault, that they went so far to try and find me just to be able to message me. Because for those that don't know, I play DBD on one platform, which is console, and in this case, which is PlayStation, or also known as PlayStation 4. So, I figured, it's like, you know, they were just so butthurt about it and everything, and I was like, I just couldn't help but laugh. Because, it was like so funny to me that someone was so bent out of shape that, I must have somehow beaten them to the point where it's like, oh, I'm going to, I'm gonna find this person in some sort of way and message him and, call him a fucking gen rusher and, make what basically looks like a small dick. So, yeah. And it's just, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what was going through that person's head, and, like, I don't know, again, I still don't know who the fuck they are, or even who they were, to the point where it's like, I don't even know if I actually did beat them or not. But apparently I did, but apparently I must have beaten them to the point where it's like, or I must have, like, either I must have beaten them, or I must have, helped, my teammates out or something like that. But I kind of feel like I must have beaten them because, they're like, oh, what? They're like, oh, hey, save your teammates too, dick, and all that, so. But I don't know. Oh, finally. Apparently my fucking ban actually lasted a little, slightly less than I anticipated. So yeah, basically that's the story. That's my little random story of, that